HOA sent me bogus fines for years. I took them to court and got their entire board removed. What would you do if your neighborhood's guardians turned into your worst tormentors, nickel-and-diming you for every blade of grass out of place? For Sarah Mitchell, this wasn't just a hypothetical, it was her reality. For 3 years, the Pinewood Estates Homeowners Association, HOA, bombarded her with fines for absurd violations. A mailbox painted the wrong shade of blue, a single weed in her garden, even a child's tricycle left in her driveway for an hour. The fines piled up to thousands, threatening her savings and her sanity. But Sarah wasn't one to back down. She uncovered a web of corruption and favoritism within the HOA board and took them to court, flipping the script in a way that left the entire neighborhood stunned. Sarah moved into Pinewood Estates, a quiet suburban community in Florida, dreaming of a peaceful life with her husband, Tom, and their 2 young kids. The neighborhood's manicured lawns and community pool promised a slice of suburban perfection. But within months, the HOA's true colors emerged. It started with a $50 fine for unauthorized landscaping, because Sarah planted petunias without submitting a formal request. Then came a $100 penalty for a non-compliant mailbox color, despite her neighbor's identical shade going unnoticed. By the end of the first year, Sarah was drowning in notices, each one chipping away at her patience. The HOA board, led by Karen Whitaker, a self-appointed queen bee with a penchant for power, seemed to have it out for her. Sarah's attempts to appeal were met with dismissive emails or outright silence. It felt personal, she later said, like they were targeting me to prove a point. The truth was uglier than Sarah imagined. She began digging, attending HOA meetings where Karen and her cronies ruled with an iron fist. Whispers among neighbors revealed a pattern. Certain residents, including Karen's friends, flouted rules without consequence, unapproved fences, loud parties, even unpermitted home additions. Meanwhile, Sarah and a handful of others faced relentless scrutiny. One neighbor, Javier, a retired accountant, tipped her off to the HOA's financial records, which were supposed to be accessible to members. After months of stonewalling, Sarah finally got her hands on them, and what she found was a bombshell. Thousands of dollars in fines were unaccounted for, funneled into vague, community improvement funds. Worse, Karen's husband's landscaping company was suspiciously awarded every major contract, despite higher bids from competitors. The HOA wasn't just petty, it was corrupt. The turning point came when Sarah received a $1,500 fine for excessive outdoor decorations, after putting up a small Halloween display, a plastic pumpkin, and a few fake cobwebs. This was no isolated incident. The HOA's governing documents allowed fines up to $100 per day for ongoing violations, but Sarah's display was down within hours. The fine was absurdly disproportionate, and she knew it. Fueled by frustration, Sarah hired an attorney, Emily Torres, who specialized in HOA disputes. Emily uncovered a critical detail. Florida law required HOAs to provide a 14-day notice and a hearing before imposing fines, and the Pinewood HOA had consistently skipped these steps, rendering most of their fines legally unenforceable. Armed with this, Sarah decided to fight back not just for herself, but for every neighbor who'd been bullied into compliance. Enter Mrs. Dolores, an unexpected ally. A widowed retiree who'd lived in Pinewood for decades, Dolores had been quietly collecting evidence of the HOA's misdeeds. She'd kept meticulous records of every violation notice, board meeting minute, and suspicious contract. Dolores revealed that Karen had once tried to fine her $2,000 for an unapproved shed that had stood in her backyard for 15 years, predating the HOA's current rules. When Dolores fought back, Karen backed off, but not before threatening to lien her property. Dolores's files were a goldmine, showing a pattern of selective enforcement and procedural violations that could sink the board. Together, Sarah, Emily, and Dolores built a case that would expose the HOA's abuse of power. The courtroom showdown was electric. Sarah's lawsuit accused the HOA board of violating Florida Statutes Chapter 720, which governs HOAs and mandates fair procedures for fines. Emily presented evidence of the board's failure to provide proper notices or hearings, alongside financial records suggesting embezzlement. Karen, smug and defiant, took the stand, insisting the fines were necessary to maintain community standards. But under cross-examination, her story unraveled. She couldn't explain why her friends escaped scrutiny or where thousands in fine revenue had gone. Javier testified about the rigged contracts, and Dolores's records painted a damning picture of selective enforcement. The judge didn't hold back, calling the board's actions arbitrary and capricious, a direct violation of their fiduciary duty. The fallout was swift and brutal. The court ruled that all fines issued without proper procedure, hundreds of them, including Sarah's, were null and void. But Sarah's team didn't stop there. They leveraged Florida law allowing homeowners to petition for the removal of board members who act in bad faith. The evidence of corruption and selective enforcement was overwhelming, and the judge ordered the entire board's removal, barring them from running again. Karen's reign was over. The courtroom, packed with Pinewood residents, erupted in applause as Karen stormed out, her face red with fury. The HOA was ordered to refund all invalid fines, totaling over $20,000, and to cover Sarah's legal fees, a rare victory given the reciprocal attorney's fees provision in Florida law. In the aftermath, Pinewood Estates transformed. A new board was elected, including Sarah and Javier, who pushed for transparent financials and fair enforcement policies. They implemented a clear schedule of fines, as required by law, and ensured every homeowner received proper notice and a hearing for violations. The community pool, once a symbol of Karen's clique, became a gathering spot for all. Dolores, now a local hero, hosted a block party to celebrate, her backyard shed proudly on display. Sarah's victory didn't just clear her Namite-inspired neighbors to speak up, knowing their voices could make a difference. This wasn't just a win against a tyrannical HOA. It was a reminder that power, when unchecked, can corrupt even the smallest institutions. Sarah's courage turned a neighborhood of silent sufferers into a united community. Have you ever faced an unfair HOA or authority figure? What would you have done in Sarah's shoes? Fought back or paid up? Share your thoughts, because stories like these show that standing up for what's right can change everything.